Welcome to Grow Happy. This is the first episode of the second season. We'd like to open this new season by first thanking all of you for your positive reviews, feedback, and support. Thank you for being part of this wonderful community where we all grow happier together. Hi, Lily. What are we going to talk about today?
Hi, Fernando. Today, we're going to talk about stress. We want to start by asking you, the listener, a few questions. First question, what comes to mind when you hear the word stress? We'll give you a second to think about it, or you can pause the audio to reflect in more detail.
Second question, are you feeling any particular sensations or emotions? Or perhaps a memory stood out in your mind?
Fernando, isn't this podcast about positive psychology? Do you think we may be stressing out our listeners with these questions?
The point of asking these questions is to help you, the listener, realize that when we hear the word stress, we have an automatic tendency to associate it with distress or negative stress.
Not all stress is created equal. Some stress is actually good stress. Even more, it is possible to transform negative stress into positive stress.
This is why we're calling today's episode Stress, from Enemy to Energy.
You might be thinking we're crazy if we think stress can be positive. But to help you understand this idea, we need to break the general concept of stress into two main types. The first one is distress, which is the negative stress we typically associate. The second one, the type of stress that can be positive, and it is called eustress.
You might be thinking, good stress? I don't think so, right? We hope we can help you recognize that positive stress can be found in a wide range of activities. Eustress literally means good stress and is defined as a type of stress that is beneficial. It has good effects on our health, motivation, and emotional well-being.
We can experience good stress when winning a game, getting a promotion, driving down a beautiful scenic road, or having a great conversation with friends.
Words we can use to describe a state of positive stress include joy, laughter, fulfillment, love, and success. Positive stress can be short-lived, or it can also be long-lasting.
Positive stress activates a state of mind that promotes focused attention, emotional balance, and rational thinking.
When we interpret a situation as positive, we are more likely to handle it well, even if it is challenging. We use strategies like breaking down tasks, figuring out possible choices, selecting priorities, and we can find ways to be strong and persistent.
When we fail to manage stressors effectively, we activate responses such as avoidance, panic, and reactivity. Having a general approach to interpret challenges in a negative way can increase cardiovascular disease, anxiety, and depression.
Let me share a simple example. I have 2 dogs, and sometimes I like to take them in my car with me. One of them absolutely 100% loves the ride, and his favorite part is to stick his face out the window and feel the air. My second dog gets very nervous, and although she kind of likes the experience, for the most part, she's so stressed out that she can't really fully enjoy it.
I see. So you're saying that the same event is eustress for the first dog and distress for the second one, meaning that we can use that example to understand that there might be things we feel distressed about that could potentially be fun and exciting if we learn to manage them.
Exactly. That is the main take-home message for today. Stress in itself is not always objectively positive or negative. To a degree, the way we interpret stress is up to us. Obviously, not every single stressor can be reprogrammed from negative to positive because some things are never pleasant. In addition to that, this argument is actually very complex when we take into account genetic predispositions and trauma from the past. But even in clinical therapy, the principle is the same. We can learn to manage stress through time in more constructive ways.
A theme throughout our podcast has been that positive psychology is not just about thinking positively in a naive type of way, but doing the hard work that can allow us to experience our life in more positive ways.
With effective strategies, and more importantly, with effort, we can change the negative perception of stress and manage it better. As a matter of fact, with my second dog, I have been taking her more frequently on short rides whenever I go to pick up my daughter from school. Little by little, she's being less dramatic about riding in the car. She's not fully comfortable, but she has started to like looking out the window and feeling the air in her face more and more.
The history of the word stress can be traced back to tests of the elasticity of metallic objects. A stress test is a way to measure the strength and adaptability of an object. In a way, when we learn to manage stress, we are tested. And as we learn to manage stress, we become stronger.
In addition to that, life is chaotic. Like the cliche says, the only stable thing about life is change. This means we will continue to be challenged, stressed, tested throughout our lives. From COVID to socioeconomic and political changes, we will continue to live in a world that isn't safe and easy. Still, we can learn strategies to help us cope and deal with situations, even when they are outside of our control.
For those things that are within our control, learning to manage stress can move us away from thinking of stress as the enemy and transforming it into energy. Let's use the example of public speaking. The majority of people report experiencing negative feelings that range from discomfort to full-blown panic when it comes to public speaking. However, it is possible to transform public speaking from something negative to something fun and exciting.
I know for a fact that some of you who are listening to this will disagree with us because you fear public speaking is so strong that you cannot even visualize it as a reality.
However, there are techniques like exposure therapy that can be effectively used to help us make this change or to help us manage any other type of phobia. It doesn't mean we can be 100% cured. Try not to think in those black and white terms. Instead, we may learn to public speak well enough, even if it will never be our favorite thing to do.
Maybe we can go from feeling panicky to feeling more neutral or even learning to like public speaking, even if it's just a little bit. The perception of stress is like a continuum from extreme negative to neutral to positive.
With practice, people can go from fearing to enjoying activities such as public speaking, social events, and competitions.
When we befriend those emotions that used to block and paralyze us, they can be channeled and eventually help us face our challenges in more constructive ways.
By the way, is there such a thing as extreme positive stress?
I think so. Like in the case of addiction, you put your nervous system through a high that you enjoy in the short term, but eventually you'll swing back in a way that becomes negative stress.
So, I guess stress can go from negative to positive and from positive to negative if we aren't careful managing it.
A final idea I would like to share is that the same event can have both positive and negative stress elements at the same time. For example, if a person is getting married, she might experience positive stress as excitement and the anticipation of a joyful event, while worrying about aspects such as financial expenses or unknown factors.
In the last episode of the first season, we talked about the autopilot and the negativity bias. The fact that positive and negative elements coexist means that if we're not mindful, we can easily get confused and focused only on the negative aspects. We can fail to enjoy wonderful things that are happening to us by failing to manage negative and positive stress.
In our next episode, we will continue this conversation by talking about acceptance as a specific strategy to transform negative stress into energy.
Remember, you can visit our website, www.togrowhappy.com, to find transcripts in English, Italian, and Spanish, and to help us sustain this podcast.
Until next time, ciao,
Goodbye.
adios.